Hi, my name is Brian Williams. I'm a member of the Adobe Premiere Pro development team, and I'm here to talk about the new 360 features that we added to Premiere Pro 2017.1. We spent a lot of time working on features that allow you to enhance the spatial aspects of both your video and audio. We've had several features in past releases that allow you to manipulate your video, to edit it kind of temporally and share it. But now we're allowing you to do things like rotate your video and your audio. Well, how do you do that with audio? First, you're going to have to work in a format called Ambisonics. Ambisonics is, if you think about, there's 5.1 surround sound, and that's a flat plane around you. Ambisonics expands that flat plane to go above and below you. So you can create Ambisonics using this cheap $220 recorder. I'm going to show you some footage that we captured. It was with a really expensive camera, but if you're an enthusiast, you can get away with ordering one of these $320 Samsung Gear 360s to capture similar quality footage. The footage that we have here, although you won't be able to see it playing back, if you were to play it in a headset, is stereoscopic and has real 3D depth to it. This camera doesn't quite give you that. But all the audio you hear came from this. Okay, so I'm going to switch over and kind of give you, show you a clip that I have up on YouTube, and I'm going to show you a little bit later how to edit and make this yourself. So this clip is a shot that one of our friends in the Photoshop group captured of the Golden Gate Bridge, and if I play it, there's a little title. And so YouTube lets you pan around in your 360 video, looking left or right, even when you're paused. On top of that, because we have Ambisonics audio in here, as I play, the audio will move with me. So right now the women are talking to the left. And they're now towards the right. Sorry, they stopped talking. My bad luck. Anyways, so let's kind of talk about how I made this sequence. I'm going to swap over into Premiere Pro. And the first thing you need to do, it's one time only per user, you need to change one default setting. You're going to go to the Edit menu, Preferences. On the Mac, you go to the Preferences menu directly on the Mac. And you're going to go to the Audio ... Within the Audio Preferences, you're going to go to the Multi-Channel Monomedia, and you're going to change that to Adaptive. What that allows you to do is whenever you bring in an Ambisonics clip, typically if you were to bring it in, you would get 4 tracks, each one having a mono channel. Adaptive Audio will create one track with 4 channels within it. And that's what we really want to use to manipulate Ambisonics audio. So I'm going to hit OK here. All right, so now that we're in the sequence, or sorry, in our project, I have a clip in here and some Ambisonics audio. This is my clip. I'll open it up in here. You can see this is what a stereoscopic over under clip looks like. It's kind of the same media, slightly shifted above and below. And I have right below that this Ambix or AmbiX file is a standard WAV file that has 4 channels. That's my Ambisonics audio. But I need to make a sequence from this. Now, when you're working with Ambisonics, you have to do things a little differently with creating an Ambisonics sequence. Typically, you could just right-click on a clip and you could just say sequence from clip. You don't really want to do that with Ambisonics. You want to right-click and new item, sequence. And from here, you're going to choose. It's best to choose a preset. We have both monoscopic and stereoscopic presets. We have many of the common dimensions that are used to create this. But let's choose one that's close to where we want to work from. This is actually 2880 by 2880. It's Ambisonics. But let's talk about what if yours doesn't match this, one of our presets. You can choose the closest and then go into the settings tab, and you can change your frame size, your width and height to match whatever your media is. You can also change your time base, your frames per second. After you choose that, and also if you happen to have, you can choose monoscopic here if you want, or if you happen to have stereoscopic side by side, you can choose that too. So we're going to make a little sequence in here, and so let's call this tutorial. Okay, so now I have my new sequence in here. The next thing I want to do is I just want to drag in my video clip. So one thing to notice, my video clip happens to have some audio on it. It has a stereo track. This is the way this material was actually recorded. A lot of cameras will do this. They'll give you a stereo recording. Some, like the Nokia Ozo, will actually give you an Ambisonics track right in the file. You don't have to follow this next step that we're about to do. But we're going to use that stereo track in a bit. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drag in the corresponding Ambisonics audio, and I'm going to put that on A2. And I'm going to kind of expand that out so you can see our 4 channels of Ambisonics audio. And let's kind of zoom in on this. I want you to kind of notice something here. Okay. If you look over here, you can see a spike. Well, when we recorded our footage, we often you'll use a clapboard or just your hands clapping. You want to get that on screen and on the audio recorder. And we can see a corresponding hand clap over here. And you could actually go through and you could manually align this yourself, but we actually give you a really nice, easy tool to do the two together. So I'm just going to shift select them, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to choose synchronize. Now I'm brought to the synchronize clips dialog, and at this point we want to make certain audio is chosen. And for Ambisonics, I recommend using mix down. Sometimes channel 1 works well as well. Great. And now you can see it automatically aligned the claps right against each other, right above each other. So great, we've got our clips aligned. Now, if you've got a lot of wind noise, a lot of background noise, this won't work for you. You'll have to look for some distinct audio. Again, claps work great for this, and you'll have to manually align this yourself. Okay, so now I'm just going to kind of trim out. Great, I've got that matched up, and I'm going to move these back to the beginning of the sequence. And on top of that, I'm going to trim out so that my team member is away from the camera. Okay, I'm going to zoom back out, and I'm going to trim the tail too. All right, and stop him before he actually gets to the camera. Great. So now I have my first cut. If I drop into VR video mode, you can see I can pan around. If I play, there is audio. I can hear this, I understand what it is, but when I play it in this way, I don't get the full spatial aspect of the audio. To help with that, we actually want to go into our audio track mixer, and we're going to apply the binauralizer effect. What the binauralizer is, think of it as your ears. The VR video display are your eyes. This effect will take that that surround sound, that sphere of sound, and mix it in such a way that it's as though your ears are listening in one specific direction within that sphere. You'll find this effect in this special binauralizer Ambisonics. By the way, if you don't see the effect panel here, it's probably hidden in this twirl down. So just hit the twirl down here and you'll see it. again, you can choose, click on this little drop down here, special binauralizer. Great. So now what I can do is my eyes and my ears are in the same place. And I know that the women are talking, they don't talk too much, too loudly. Let's see if I can listen to them. Okay. Oh, I just plugged in my headphones because for this next step, I actually want to throw the headphones on and monitor. Okay, so what you will have heard there, the women, even though I'm kind of looking straight ahead, their voices are coming from the right. So, okay, I'm going to have to fix that. With that, we have an effect that will let you reorient your audio. And it goes along with the way to reorient the video. Let's talk about reorienting the video. My default view, my stage right now, is facing out up the coast. I really want to look at the bridge. And I really like this view here. I like it so that, you know, the bridge composes the left side of the frame and the right side of the frame is the city. So I'm going to reset the view back here. And we have a new effect that allows you to move the sphere. And it's the VR projection effect. If you want to find it easily, go to the search and just type VR. And we're just going to click and we're going to drag that onto my video clip. And I'm going to go into the effect controls. Okay, the next step is I'm working with stereoscopic footage. And when I'm working with stereoscopic footage, by default, our input and our output layouts are set to monoscopic. So I need to change this to stereoscopic over under in our sequence. So the input layout is what your clip is. Your output layout is what your sequence is. In this case, they're both stereoscopic. And you can see I can see the footage properly again. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to repan the frame until I see the golden gate where I want it. Okay, so one thing to think about here. When I'm panning, it's sort of like moving the eyes in the VR viewer. Even though I am panning, you see me moving the slider to the left, the pixels kind of move to the right. That's because, again, you have to think about you're moving your eyes and not the world. That's how this works. And the reason we went with this way is that you could look somewhere in the VR viewer and you could take those numbers and you could just type them in right here. You could look wherever you want and then just save yourself a shortcut. You could use that for notes and things like that from your editor or your producer. Okay, so I've centered the frame the way I like. And now I'm going to throw on the headphones again. And actually, the next thing I want to do is I want to look for something that's going to make some sound. I know that the audio wasn't right before, but I want to look for something that a really nice, sharp source of audio. And I want to kind of center that visually in the frame. I don't want to use the VR projection and change the pan. I just want to move my eyes. So let's look around. Now, I happen to know when my friend Steve got in his car, he slammed the door shut. So let's find that point. Okay, here we go. We're there. So I'm going to mark in around that. And, oh, actually, that's got the wrong point. Okay, in there. And then, boom, out. Now when I listen to this, it might be a little annoying. Oh, one step here. Actually, and this is really important. I changed my eyes. I'm at 176 degrees. Let me just kind of change the tilt back here to 0. Which I could just type 0 here. Great. And typically a lot of people will hide the controls. When you're working with Ambisonics and you're starting to correct, it's really good to show your controls so you could see the numbers where you're looking at, because I need to punch those same numbers into the pan and tilt. So one thing to be aware of, we're using first order Ambisonics. It's not precise. It's okay if you're off by a degree or two. You can't really tell the difference. But the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my binauralizer and I'm going to move that down to what I see in my pan is negative 176 degrees. There we go. Great. So now my ears are looking in the same place as my eyes in the VR viewer. And now if I loop play on this, I'm going to turn on the loop play button. Okay, I should be hearing door slamming over and over again. Great. So now when I'm listening here in my headphones, what I'm hearing is the door seems to be sounding like back here. What I really want to do is I want the door to be right ahead of me now. How do I fix that? Well, I'm going to go back into my effects browser and I'm going to type Ambi. So that will bring up our Ambisonics effects. We've already introduced you to the binauralizer. You can use that as a track effect here for monitoring. You can use it also, let's say you have some Ambisonics material that you want to use within a standard stereo sequence. You could apply the binauralizer effect onto that clip or even onto a track and create a stereo mixdown from the binaural. All right, so let's see. So it's loop playing on that, and I want to take the panner. I'm going to drag that onto audio 2. Oh, one other thing I need to do. I need to mute audio 1. We don't need that in the mix right now. Okay, so that sounds a little cleaner now, actually now that I've muted audio 1. But still, the door slamming is to my right. Okay, so with this clip selected, the panner's already been applied. You can see Panner Ambisonics here. And we are going to take the pan, going to swirl that open, and I'm going to pan that over. So what I'm really doing here is I'm going a little bit, when I think I'm around the point that I want, I'm going to, actually, let me stop so you can hear what I'm saying. What I'm going to want to do is when I think I'm around that point, is I'm going to take that pan knob and I'm going to move it a little bit more to the left, I'm going to move it a little more toward the right, and kind of get a sense until it really feels like I know where the center of that pan is. So I'm going to keep doing this for a little bit here. Okay, so that's a little bit to my left. I mean to my right. Now it's to my left. Okay, that sounds pretty good to me. So one of the other things I need to do is sometimes, because I want the sound to be coming from straight ahead of me when I'm doing this, the one bad thing is sometimes you can't tell straight ahead from straight behind you. So what I suggest doing when you're doing this is you're going to move your ears with the binauralizer effect and make certain that the audio moves accordingly. So I'm going to move my ears to the right using the slider, or the knob over here, and as I move my ears to the right, the audio should move to my left. Right? You got to think the audio staying here, I'm moving like this, see the audio went to my left ear. So that's what I'm expecting here. So yep, the audio moved over to my left ear. So great, I know that I'm centered, I've got my audio centered with my video. And great, I don't really need the binauralizer effect anymore. I can either remove it or I can just mute it here. And it's kind of important to mute that. If you don't, when you go to export, you will only get pretty much a stereo mixdown. It'll think that it has 4 channels, but the other 2 channels will just have sounds in it. It's kind of useless. So remember to mute your binauralizer when you're done monitoring. Okay, so I'm going to clear my in and out points. And there's my starting sequence, my clip. Now I want to create a title. yeah, we can actually do some, we can use our VR projection effect to do some stuff with the titles. And I'm going to show you how to use the new titling capabilities that we have as well. So first thing I'm going to do is kind of note the area of what a typical VR view looks like within the scene. When I go to compose the title, it's best to actually, when I start, to leave VR mode. Trust me. Okay, so I know in this tiny little window over here, I want to make a title. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my zoom, go up to 150%. And I'm going to kind of zoom down. Now the zoom's might change based on your frame size. Work with one that kind of fits for you. This is close to what I had for my VR view. It's not exact, but it kind of gives a sense. I know my VR view kind of ended over here, but it gives me a sense of what I have to work with. So, all right, next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw a title on top of this. And I got some notes here. Actually, I'm going to kind of refer back to here. So I kind of, just to save myself a little time, because I chose my fonts and everything the other night. Actually, I have to go back into my essential graphics in the edit mode, hit the title effect, and okay, and actually for this, I want a size to be 28. Get close, but you kind of get a sense, if you remember where the title was underneath the bridge of its scale. Oh, you can see the red outline box of the text change. I'm going to choose some golden gatey kind of colors in here. Let's move this a little bit. Add a stroke on that. And all right, Minion Pro, that's the font I want. And I'm just going to type back in the San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. Okay, it's probably going to be a little smaller than that. Now, here's another trick that you need to know before you do this. This is the way it looks here. 360 video has an aspect ratio of 2:1, and we need to compensate for that before we're done with this title. So we're going to take that and we're going to scale it down. We're going to unlink our scale lock so that we can change the width separate from the height. And we're going to scale the width down to 50%. It looks stretched, or it looks shrunk, squeezed in here, but it'll look nearly correct when we throw it into, when we look at it in VR mode. Okay, so now that I've got this centered, or sorry, I've got everything sized properly, now I need to center it within my frame. Okay, so now I can leave, I can zoom back out to fit mode, and you can see the little tiny red outline of where my title should be. Now that my title is made and placed center, again, center within the frame is very important after you've kind of got it composed. I'm going to go back into my VR mode, my VR projection, and I'm going to apply the VR projection to my title. And I'm going to go back into my effect controls, and you can see my projection down here. Now my input projection for titles is always going to be monoscopic, but my output is going to be stereoscopic. So you can't really tell right now. The title is right here. It's a little smudge in the center of the screen. If I drop into VR mode, you can't even see it because it's going to be, actually, let's kind of look, where is it? I don't know where it is even. Oh, I haven't, it's because I forgot to change I just told you to change to the stereoscopic and I forgot to. Oh, that's actually, when I changed to stereoscopic, there it is. It's actually kind of in the center of the screen. Oh, yay. Great. So now let's actually position it. I need to move it a little bit to the left, a little down, and I need to roll it some. So I'll kind of expand out the pan control, and I'll move it to the left. I'll tilt it down. Okay, and then I'm gonna expand the roll. Okay, let's bring it back up a little. But now I got the... Great, now I've got my title in place. And if I leave VR view, it's a little hard to tell, but this tiny little line up above and below. And we can actually verify this. You could go into the view settings and you could change your setting to look at the left eye versus the right eye. And then we have our title there, and you can keyframe this title as well. And this is all using the new titling capabilities that are new to this release. But some of the things like opacity, those are the same controls that have always existed. So I'm going to start back here. Okay, so when I want to move my title so that it begins at 2 seconds. So I'm just going to move my CTI over to 2 seconds, and I'm going to drag the beginning of my title there. And I want my title to be up for 10 seconds. So I'm going to move my CTI. Again, I'm a timecode guy. This is how I like to work. 10 seconds later is over here, and I'm just going to drag the end of the title out to that. Okay, now so to fade it in and out, I'm going to click on the title again, and using the opacity controls that are there for any clip, I'm going to move back here. I'm going to add a keyframe to the start. Is that at the very beginning? Add a keyframe at the start, and I'm going to change its opacity down to 0. I'm going to go to 3 seconds. I want my title to fade up over 1 second. I'm going to set its opacity to 100%. Okay, now I'm going to jump ahead to 11. Add another keyframe at 100%. And then I'm going to jump to 12, the end of the clip. And I'm going to fade it out and drop that down to 0. So it fades out. Now if I play this back, you can see the title fades in. It's up for about 8 seconds. And then fades out. Great, we're ready to export now. So we've also made some changes to export to support Ambisonics and also to make it easier to configure everything. So I'm going to hit Control M, that's Command M on the Mac, to export media. And in this case, in order to export Ambisonics, you have to work with H.264 or QuickTime. But here I'm going to demonstrate H.264. And what I'm going to do is down here we're going to have some new presets. And much like the export presets, I'm going to choose one that closely resembles what I have. So this is 2880 by 2880. We have both stereo and Ambisonics. So in this case, I want to make certain that I export Ambisonics. Great. And some of the things to always check, make certain stretch to fill is turned on. And you should see, if you scroll down, we're in the audio tab, you'll notice that audio's Ambisonics is automatically selected. And this is how the preset's configured for AAC. And the video, you'll notice video is VR and this frame layout is stereoscopic over under. Now, if you happen to want to use other frame sizes, or we don't have one that closely resembles what your sequence is, you can always feel free to just turn on match source for the particular properties that match your sequence to easily match. Just always make certain that stretch to fill is enabled up here in the source scaling, stretch to fill. So let's go back to that audio tab and let's talk for a second about this if you were to try and configure this stuff manually. Some of the things that affect that are, first, you don't have access to some of the capabilities unless your sequence is VR. So yes, we know that it is because we saw that just a second ago in the video. And it's only available for AAC format in H.264. So with that chosen, once that's chosen, we now actually have the ability to export 4.0 channels. And once 4.0 is selected, we now actually have the ability to select audio's Ambisonics. So for example, if I had stereo here, you notice that audio's Ambisonics is disabled. And if I go back into video and if I turn off videos VR and I go back into audio, you're like, hey, where'd my Ambisonics go? Again, the Ambisonics are only there if you're doing VR sequences for now. In the future, we'll support Ambisonics in other kinds of sequences. But for this release, we focused primarily on VR workflows. So back to my stereoscopic over under, and I now have the ability to choose 4.0 channels, and with that, I can, again, re-enable audio's Ambisonics. Now, if you chose the preset, all of this stuff will just be populated for you automatically. And once all that is properly configured, you could just hit export and you're ready to go. So I'll just let that go in the background, and while that's going, we'll just kind of talk here a little bit. So that's an overview of our sequence. This is ready to share on YouTube. Just the same. These are the same steps I used to create the sequence I demonstrated at the beginning. But we're going to do more in the future. We have some things in the works that it's going to make working with Ambisonics even easier, especially when it comes to monitoring. And there are some things in the future that we think that you'll be really excited to see, and VR is very important to us. So until next time, take care.